and welcome to my channel. I am Stephanie and this is the week 12 weekly wrap up for March the 17th through the 23rd. As I said, this is the wrap up for week 12 of 2019. I cannot believe we're already almost in the teens for weeks in a new year. The year just seems to fly by. Oh my goodness, so fast. So this week has been super busy. If you've been following me over on Instagram, you know that I went to a Polycon, which was from the 21st through today. I got home today. I'm real tired today. And I hope to have this video like produced and everything like that for you guys. It will be out probably late Sunday night, if not Monday morning, because on Mondays my son has 2-hour practice, so it definitely won't be tomorrow night that you get it. And I have too many videos to skip a Sunday video. Took a hiatus last week. You guys got no videos, but you guys are still awesome over on my channel and continue to watch videos, so thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. But yeah, so let's get to the books that I read last week. Last week I read a total of 9 books. Now I will preface that by saying there are a couple books that I DNF'd, so technically I didn't read them. I did start them. So they go on and go in my counts as well. And as you know, at the end of the year, I do a breakdown, so you guys will know how many books I actually DNF throughout the year, and you know, all that good stuff. But for this week, 9 books I'm going to talk about real quick in this last week wrap up. So the first book that I read was Fear Me, which is Broken Love, #1 by Reid. I placed this in dark romance. I don't even know that I really want to place it in romance, but that's where it's going to go. That's where it's going to go. I DNF this book at 50%. I give it 0 Steam fans. I found nothing about it to be sexy whatsoever, and I listened to it as an audiobook. This is written by a Black author, and I read it because I was meeting this author at a Polycon. So the premise behind the story is that Lake, who is a female, met this little boy, I guess you could say, when she was a little girl, and they had a history, and now they're 17, 18 years old in their senior year of high school. They have lots and lots of animosity towards each other. Yeah, and the boy's name is Kieran. Sorry about that. At 50%, I had to just stop this book. I just could not take any more. There was an abundance of darkness that wasn't needed. Trigger warnings for abuse, for rape, for voyeurism, for just so many things. And not that I normally throw out those trigger warnings for those type of things, but the main thing that got me was that this book is set with characters in high school. I have no problems with dark themes. I have no problems with voyeurism. I have no problems with reading about rape or abuse or psychological, physical, any of that. No problems reading that. But when you start placing the characters in a situation where it's happening while they're in high school, and you sort of claim that this is a YA dark romance, that is where I draw my line. A new line that I now have drawn. I can't do it. Can't do it. I just can't. That's all I'm going to say about that one. But the next book that I read was The Learning Hour, which is How to Date a Douchebag #3 by Sara. I loved this book. I give it 4.5 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I place this in New Adult, and I listened to it on audiobook. I also read this book for Buzzwordathon for the word of how. This book follows Reid, who is a newly transferred wrestling star to the How to Date a Douchebag wrestling team of Iowa, and I loved it. I loved every single moment of it. So Rhett is the transfer, and he's not a douchebag. I love it. I love that aspect of it. I love that twist on it and everything like that. Laurel is the female that observes Rhett getting sort of hazed on being the new guy on the wrestling team, and they dine and dash. The team dine and dashes, and Rhett is left paying the bill. And then they continue to play some more pranks on him, and one being that his name and his face is posted, or his phone number and his name and his picture is posted all over campus, letting girls know that he needs to get laid. Well, Laurel's cousin decides to dare her to contact Rhett and get in on this joke that the guys are, you know, doing on him. Well, come to find out, they end up having sort of a friendship, and from friendship it turns into something more. And I really, really enjoyed this story. I love that flip-flop of Laurel's the actual douchebag, where Rhett is the really sweet person in the book. The next book that I read was Fire in His Fury, Fireblood Dragon number 4 by Ruby Dixon. I placed this in erotic paranormal. I loved this book. Oh my goodness, I give it 5 stars. I give it 4 Steam fans. I listened to it on audiobook. It has that aspect of Rapunzel for a fairy tale. Oh my goodness. And it gives so much more into the Fireblood Dragon series. I mean, it's just, the story just keeps evolving, and I'm loving it. So in this one, you have Amy, who is the sister to one of our female characters that you met in a couple books ago, and she has to stay sort of in the tower and kept away, because if you know the series, you know that a female's pheromones or a female scent is what sort of brings the dragons on, and in order for the dragons to lose their madness, they have to mate with a human, or their female, period. And come to find out, it's usually a human. And once they bond and mate with that human female, then the madness kind of goes away. Well, this dragon, Rast, he knows so much more than the other dragons we have found or read about in the rest of the series, in the first 3 books. And he gives this new aspect, but the fact that Rast ends up killing a dragon who Amy thinks is her fated mate, because she left her panties in a field to sort of like, hey, come get me. Come get me. I need what my sister has, and I don't want to be cooped up anymore. So she left her panties in the... And she is disabled, and I just loved every aspect of it. So they get to know each other, they become friends, and come to find out he may be the one she was looking for in the first place. Never know. Did that really just happen? But they go on an adventure just like in Rapunzel. He saves her from the tower. They go on an adventure and find some truths and things like that. Loved every moment of that. Can't wait to continue on with this series. The next book that I read was When Ashes Fall by Marni Mann. I place this in contemporary, and I give it 5 humongous stars. I give it 2 Steam fans. I listened to it on audiobook. I listened to it for Buzzwordathon for the word of when. And also, come to find out, I was meeting Marni at a Polycon. Whew. So this book is going to be super hard to explain. So I'm going to try and do it the best that I can without giving any spoilers. I do suggest that you go into this book blind. If you were following me on Instagram, or if you want to go over to my Instagram, you can see the devastation that this book caused me, because it's so emotional. It's beautiful. And I did predict what was going on in the story, but the journey that is taken for our characters is just wow. Just I didn't know what to do with myself. And then to meet Marni and to learn the history behind the story that was provided was just so beautiful. So if you do listen to it on audiobook, which I do suggest, the narrators were absolutely amazing. The story follows Alex, Dylan, and Smith. They all live in Boston, and they have a journey to take with each other. It's all about finding your sunshine and your day and finding your peace and things like that. So that's all I'm going to give you on what the story is actually about. But if you listen to it on audiobook, make sure that you get the ebook copy of it, because you definitely need to read the author's note at the end. I mean, by the end of the book, if you're not devastated and emotionally involved in this story, what is your life? I mean, like, seriously, if you're not bawling in tears and need some wine and need to recover, what is your life? Like, seriously. But, the author's note brings another level, and, whew, when I met Marni, she told me, did you read the author's note? In that audiobook, did you hear the author's note or anything like that? And I was like, no. So I purchased a signed copy from her, and I went upstairs and I read the author's note, and I was devastated again. Just crushed. Heart, tears. It was not pretty. I did not put that one in pictures, but the next day when I saw her, I just had to hug her again, because it was just so beautiful. Just absolutely, oh, my heart. Oh, that book. If I want a good cry, there's certain movies that I would read, and if I want a good cry from a book, this one's definitely going on that list. Just, I bet I could find new things to cry about in this book, because just, oh, so many S's. So just beautiful. Just everything. Yes. Ugh. The next book that I finished reading was Mouth to Mouth, which is Beach Kingdom #1 by Tessa Bailey. I place this in New Adult. I give this book 4 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I read this as an ebook, and this book follows Rory, who has done some time in prison, and when he gets out, he's working with his family and his brothers on the beach as a lifeguard, and they're running their bar at night. Well, he happens to be walking along the road one day and runs into this young woman named Olive. Olive just can't seem to not get hurt or get the possibility of getting killed or get run over by a bus or drowning. Just craziness. She's just prone to some accidents, and Rory happens to be that guy that's there to save her. And both of them have a bit of a journey to move on with through the story, and I loved how sexy and quirky and sweet it was. Rory is looking to find himself from the past, trying to move forward. Olive is trying to find herself and find an identity for herself beyond her family, and it's just so beautiful. I loved it. It was fun, it was funny, it was sassy, and just so many S's. The next book that I finished was The Dom Who Loved Me, which was Masters and Mercenaries #1 by Lexi Blake, and I place this in romantic suspense. I give this book 3.75 stars, so 4 stars. I give it 3 Steam fans. I listened to it on audiobook, and I read it for Buzzwordathon for the Word of Who. And this book follows Sean, who is a prior Army Green Beret who is now working with his brother in a security firm. They take on a job or a mission in which they have to sort of infiltrate a company, and in walks Grace, who is a mature woman who's 40, I believe it says she is, so a mature woman, and she has 2 kids, and Sean finds her attractive. He has been out of the BDSM lifestyle for a while, and he decides she is to his liking. Grace sees Sean and is like, oh, yes, he's yummy. I want a little bit of taste of that. Now, I enjoyed that aspect. This definitely is BDSM light. There are The different sexy scenes are light on the BDSM. There is a lot of talk about BDSM and the lifestyle, so it is there. It is very prevalent. It is known and things like that. It does talk about the different levels and things. Now, the things that I sort of were turned off about was the fact that Grace, our female character, continued to remind us that she was 40 years old and that she was a mature woman. He's not gonna like my body. He doesn't like my breast. All the way through the book. All the way through. I mean, I get acknowledging that in the beginning. Oh, he's too young for me. That was another one that like drove me up a wall. It's fine to acknowledge some of those aspects, but I need that character to go ahead and grow and evolve and be okay in her own skin. Some of the time, by I'd say the 70% mark, when she would make that remark, I would just roll my eyes and be like, I'm gonna need you to get over that, hun. Get over it, like now, please. The next book that I read was Where Good Girls Go to Die by Renee. I place this in a new adult, and I give it 4 stars. I give it 4 Steam fans. I listened to it on audiobook, and I read it for the buzzword of where. This book follows Liv and Porter. They are a lifetime friends because Porter is Liv's brother's best friend. Yes. Parker is Liv's brother's best friend. Now, they have been roll dogs and friends all of their lives. Then they had an incident happen where Liv ends up going off to school and cuts off sort of contact with the family. Well, Parker decides he's going to get married, and during his bachelor party, who comes walking up on stage, shaking her little tatas and, you know, what have you. Yep, that would be Liv. So, Liv's brother talks her into going back home, and Parker and Liv start to reevaluate their situation. There's some twists and turns. There are some things that I didn't particularly like about their relationship, but I did understand it and appreciate it. There were some twists and turns that I didn't see coming that sort of annoyed me, but then we're like, okay, it's cool. I do want to finish this series. I think it's a series or a trilogy, something like that. I know there's another book. I don't know if the other book follows a character from this book. I would like that because there's a couple characters that I want more from. The cover was definitely not what I thought the story was going to be about. I thought this was going to be more of a mystery thriller where it is a new adult story. Definitely caught me off guard, but didn't turn me off in any amounts whatsoever. And definitely makes me want to read the rest of the books that have similar covers as well. The next book that I read was A Look But Don't Touch by Cara D. Yeah, Cara D. And I place this in erotic short story. And I give this one 4 stars. I give this 5 Steam fans. And I listened to it on the podcast of Read Me Romance. Read Me Romance. Yes. I have to cheer every single time I hear it. Yes. That's just how I roll on that one. This book follows Nicholas and Kayla. They are in a different sort of kink. I don't want to tell you what the kink is because if you listen to the podcast, they sort of reveal the kink beforehand. I had never read this type of kink before. I didn't think that I would enjoy this type of kink when I found out what kind of kink it was. But I will say I sort of enjoyed this story. It did make me sort of test my limits, but you know what? A story is a safe place to sort of explore your brain and, see what turns you on, what doesn't turn you on. Just because you like the story doesn't necessarily mean you need to install it and instill it into your life. So It's cool. It's a safe space. It's a safe story. It's a, you know, gives all the rules and things like that of this kink in BDSM, and I just really enjoyed it. That's all I'm going to say about it, and I just think you should listen to the podcast, period. I'm going to, like, every single week that I listen to the podcast and I tell you about the story, go for the banter, if not the story. Even if you don't know the author, or you don't like the story from the author, go for the banter, because the banter between Tessa Bailey, Leah, and Mel for Alexa Riley is amazing. It's amazing. They like to roll you into the story as well as give you some, like, side knowledge. They're amazing. Then the last book that I read was The Bandit, was that I DNF'd at 10%, and that was after I spoke with the author to find that the author had no qualms about using barely legal characters for these dark, taboo sort of situations. And for me, it just doesn't work, and it's a hard limit for me. New hard limits. We find new hard limits every single day. So, now to what I am currently reading. I am currently reading Envy, which is Elite 7 number 4 by M.N. Forgy, and I am about 10% into this story. So far in the Elite 7 series, Lust, Pride, Wrath, those three, their sins were sort of borderline of what they're named for. They sort of took an interesting turn. I'm enjoying the story. I'm enjoying the series immensely. I just have a feeling that envy, or my thoughts on the word envy and the sin envy, are sort of going to match up. I am also reading Protecting What's His, Line of Duty number 1 by Tessa Bailey. I am about 40% into that one, and I was reading it for Buzzwordathon, which would have been the word what, to cover that challenge. But sadly, I did not finish it in Buzzwordathon time frame, but I will be finishing it, and you guys will be hearing about that next week. This book follows Ginger, who took her sister from a hostile sort of environment into Chicago, and now they're trying to make a life for themselves. Derek is a police lieutenant that lives down the hall for them, and when he met Ginger, her sassiness spiked a little bit of an interest in his libido, and they're playing banter back and forth, so I'm really enjoying that. Now, I also, if you guys were following me, you know that I was reading Heatstroke by Tessa Bailey, and I actually placed that one back on my to-be-read list, and I will get to that later on this year. I still want to read it. I just didn't have time or wasn't in the right headspace to read that book right now, but I will be. I also have Lust in Translation by Rachel Robinson, which I'll be trying to read sometime later this year as well. I am on the art team for Kennedy Ryan, and I got my e-arc copy of Hookshot by Kennedy Ryan, and I was already going to be dropping everything to get this book read this week because it comes out on March the 28th. But I also got to see Kennedy's beautiful, sweet, amazing face at a Polycon, and she honored me and gifted me with a physical ARC copy, oh yes, of Hookshot. There is a reason that I drop everything that I am reading when certain authors contact me and say, hey, will you read my book? And this right here, I had no clue that she was going to give me a physical copy of it. And it's personalized and signed to me. That she was going to do this at a Polycon. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate her. I love her. I love her writing. She did an amazing job on the panel of the own voices panel for Polycon. I loved everything she had to say. This woman is amazing. If you have not read any of her works, you need to get on it, because this woman is just, she needs to be like the voice of all things. If she doesn't know what she starts to write and starts talking about in her story, she stops and she goes and researches and she finds the knowledge to be able to write these amazingly diverse and beautiful, pivotal, message-driven type stories. I haven't even started yet, but when I do, it's going to, like, I'm starting tonight. That's all it's to it. This is getting started tonight. And this book, because I'm off topic, but this book follows Kian, who is a single parent of, and is a basketball player, has a kid, he's divorced, bad divorce. You know Kian, his story a little bit because of Block Shot and Long Shot. You've heard of him. And now this is his story, his journey. I can't wait to find out why he's divorced. Look at that face. Look at that face. Can't find out why he has a kid and how that relationship has evolved. And then you have Lotus, who is this free spirit that is a cousin to our female character, Iris, from Long Shot. Can't wait. Can't wait to dive into this story. You just don't know how much. Just, yes. But if you haven't read Kennedy Ryan, you need to get on that because she's amazing. Amazing. I will also be reading Honeymoon Hideaway by Hart, which is a short story in the anthology of Blackout, which is coming out April the 2nd. And Cary reached out to me personally and said, hey, do you have time in your schedule? Could you read this story for me? Let me know what you think. Yes, Cary. Yes. I will read your short story and I will let you know what I think. I'm going to let everyone know what I think about your short story. This is what I'm talking about. Authors reaching out and appreciating the things that I have to say. I appreciate them because I love them. So, that are those are the things that I read last week, the things I'm currently reading, and the things I have on my plate for this week. Yes, or that are coming out soon, and why I'm reading them, how I feel about them, if I'm currently reading them, all of that amazingness. So, have you read any of those books that I just named off? Let me know down in the comments. Let's have a discussion. What do you think about my feelings? Do I need to maybe revisit something that I DNF'd or gave a lower star to? Or do I need to, like, think about something different? What type of mindset do I need to be in? If you love the books that I didn't love, let me know down in the comments. Let's converse. You know I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, there is a feedback form down in the description box so you guys can help me improve my channel. Thank you for watching, and we will see you guys later.